Well, greetings and welcome to Can't You Hear Me Gnostic. Probably should lower my mic into place. Greetings and welcome to Can't You Hear Me Gnostic, a weekly live stream where, as a Gnostic, we discuss things and I try to bring a Gnostic perspective or Sophianic narrative perspective. Anyway, welcome all, and I'm going to go into the live chat and greet people. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I had to start a half an hour late because I had to get some things before all the stores closed, and at 8:45, I had a vehicle available. And so I said, you know what? Let me just reschedule this a half an hour late, and I got back from the store about 5 minutes ago. So I guess I'll have to wait for an up. Oh, there we go. So hello, Lee. Hello, Raksha. Hello, Darcy. And I know Nisha said, oh, I speak Darcy. I speak Darcy, too. So. Okay, so anyway, it's been a crazy couple of days, weeks, and I have hello, Deborah and Robin, and I have a little song on. I was up till 8 o'clock in the morning, finishing up. Go to Your Room is the title, but you know how a lot of times is song titles and they have a parenthesis title, and this is the Goob song, and that would be for the what people often call the elite, the controllers, the Illuminati, you know, the regular, you know, the dirtbags. Actually, dirtbags is a little hard. They're worse than dirtbags in their performance and how they treat others. Anyway, so I'll do that song a little bit later. I have to kind of get settled. Been making some changes in my routines. I have to say I got more done in 2 hours today than I probably have in 2 weeks. I also, owing to, it was like one of those times where I had to get my debit card. And at the last moment I realized, oh, they're going to send it to an address. I changed the address. So I was like 9 days without access to any money. And that gets very sphincter clenching. And I didn't know when I would have access until things arrived today. So, and basically what it is, it says it's a song preview. Where is that list here? If I really wanted to rewrite it up because it's got three verses and a bridge, and it's kind of a song that was kind of almost channeling my inner Bob Dylan. And so that means rather than writing 3 verses, I probably could have written 13 verses. And they're kind of written like verse 1, bridge 1, and then I have verse 2, and I think bridge 2 was on another page. And I was really hoping to get them in a linear fashion because it's kind of hard to turn pages while you're strumming a guitar. But again, it's a preview. And well, it is verse 3. Okay, I guess I can make that work. Oh, yeah. So it's pretty funny. Seemed like I had good muse support. My muse that I've decided to work with, which is the one for music. In the Greek name is Terpsichore, and the I guess Tibetan Buddhist name is Budevi. So that's for later. We're going to settle in a little bit and see what's going. I was at Doc Illusion, had a short stream earlier today. I was there for much of that. I'm looking at myself and my almost rather unkempt hair, and I almost don't give a shit. So, how are y'all doing? Being as I live in Virginia, I should actually, the more I incorporate that, the less like an outsider I'll sound. Anyway, so I just got back from like running around like a nut. Gonna have a little bit of a cigarette. Also, without having access to any of my money, my occasional nervous system management by Mother Nature got interrupted. That's been interesting, and is a lot more dreaming happening. And I might go with the adjustment. I was thinking about actually experimenting with some CBD oil, because as I'm in my body and it's feeling kind of jiggy, I actually feel that I might really benefit more from the cannabinoids of a CBD than the THCs. Very often I have, used natural methods for nervous system management, but just okay, we're going to get a little fuzzy. No, sometimes the fuzzy is good, but sometimes the fuzzy is actually annoying. It's in the way, and I figured it's only a little. I think it's only a little bit more for a bottle that might last a lot longer. So I'm going to experiment with seeing if the cannabinoids actually treat the nervous system and without the fuzz. Look, we're gonna find out. Hello, Jet Pet, and hello, Sandy. Hey, haven't seen you in a while. I wish Niche was here. She put out a less than a minute video, but it's good. And if you have a spare minute, check out Nisha's last video. Hello, Jessica. And it's good. In many ways, well, I don't know if Raksha's still here, but kind of like almost like a little bit of bone motherness. So Lee and I actually see quite a bit of each other in chats. We don't see each other. We interact with each other. And Jessica too. So it's always good. Rex Bear had a really nice league project last night because he had Heidi Vandenberg on, and she's an interesting person. I enjoy her. She kind of keeps Rex from getting too silly. And he's become a better reader. I remember I used to razz him a little bit, and I could see that it kind of bugged him a little bit. And lately, I noticed he's really upped his game, which is pleasing, because he does do a lot of reading, and his reading has really just. I guess he just said, "Hey, maybe I should just apply myself a little bit before I do these readings or something," and it's just made it a lot easier for us snobs. Yeah, it was a good chat. And it was funny how they were, remarking, "Where are the trolls? Where are the trolls?" And maybe a more troll-friendly live stream was happening somewhere. Was CW streaming last night? Not, again, I'm not about how often this chat is one of those kind of things. Are you talking Miles? I guess that there's only one Miles. I remember interacting with him because I used to be part of something called the Goldfish Report until it got really, it was getting goofy. And it was getting what it was. For me, what I call goofy, a lot of people join Gaia to hear, for God's sakes. So, or should I say goddess sake? Well, I'm the same thing. In many ways. So I'm in pretty good spirits considering my nervous system is a little bit but I think part of it is that, just having to deal with it, and then maybe just cleaning out a little bit. It's been a long time. I usually do periods of Mother Nature clean, for any, for all kinds of reasons, including during the clean periods, I have more money. But when I got down to like, when will I be able to, I mean, I had something in my bank, but I couldn't get to it. And, but all that's fixed now, so, the best part of the goldfish. I used to introduce it. If you ever saw it, there was my face right at the beginning, introducing the goldfish report. But Miles, I remember when we had Miles on, and Miles does what Miles does, and I have no interest in it. He's an intelligent guy. As a matter of fact, he's smarter than a lot of people. And but I think very often what I'm seeing, I mean, I look around at YouTube's because I watch videos, and then I see their subscribers and I go, wow, man. And then I see how long I've been on, I go, wow, man. But I've always kind of known that if I really wanted to be popular, you just pick the topics that everybody else is following, and you put your information, as far as I'm, it's, if you're into, I guess from a marketing perspective, it's brilliant, but from an integrity perspective, it's not brilliant at all. And, he's in the folks he finds. Oh yeah, they're real interesting. Kind of like good psychological studies. Anyway, I'm not gonna, again, everybody has their own shtick. I guess it just sometimes I see what's popular, and I go, no wonder we're getting so little traction. Yeah, it was Miles Johnston. Like I said, when I got a chance to interact with him personally, and pleasant man, intelligent man, and I guess in a lot of ways he sees a market. It's a hot market. It's the market that goes to conferences and awake and aware things. I mean, there's a lot of money. If you think that's legitimate, there is a lot of money, because a lot of people are very much attracted to that stuff. And but McDonald's is popular too. Putting things in their proper perspective. So I'm just waiting for the nicotine to have its effect. Starting to. I mean, we had some, Louisa is very networked. So we had Simon Parks on the show. We had a bunch of people on the show. Which was pretty funny, because we were doing the shows with the ambassador during that time too. And I know after I left, he stayed on for a while. But I don't know. I really haven't watched a Goldfish Report since I left. And I want to be. I'm not even. It was like. It wasn't like I said, "Oh, I'm out of here." It was just like she was doing her thing, and I guess we parted ways amicably. I'm pretty good about, you know, being as amicable as. I mean, I have 4 amicable divorces behind me. And now I'm MGTOW out to spare the ladies. And so some people go, "Oh, what do you have against women?" Nothing. I love them, so I'm gonna spare them from having to try and change me into something I can't be changed into. Can you imagine? It's very frustrating on their part. I know. I'm following the live chat a little bit. Yeah, I had a really, really busy day. Productive day. I like productive. Matter of fact, I have had it was such a break in many ways for me because I've been trying to get some stuff done, and it seems like I don't know what was holding me down. And this is no joke. Last night I was in such a uncomfortable place. I looked at myself in the mirror, you know, when you really want to look in there, and I looked at myself, I said, "Did you die and you're in a bardo?" And I was serious. I was serious. It was like things were just so strange, and things I wanted to kind of like get done just seemed, I mean, the simplest things, it seemed like a phone call. And I actually said, "Am I in a bardo?" Which would mean I would be physically dead. But I woke up today in a better place, and I did one of the things that I often don't do. Cause I have so much trouble getting to sleep sometimes, and then I finally fall asleep, and then when I wake up, it's like, and I'm pretty disoriented. But today I had the presence of mind while still sitting on the edge of my bed to contact Sophia, and it made the day completely different. I mean, that was before I even engaged in my day, I connected, realized I was entering into her dream, and what a difference. It's really interesting. I mean, like Tara Joyce, there were so many names that apparently a lot of people are well versed in, maybe even following, that I don't know. Needless to say, I don't feel deprived. And I'm wearing short sleeves. I'm usually not in short sleeves, but tonight I am. Yeah, sometimes the world can seem like just a little tiny puckered asshole, pretty small. So, hello, Madfinger. Oh, well, yeah, that's, something, Lee just mentioned something. It's interesting, little riffs and spats on YouTube. That is what I'm observing. That's to me like the mental health of the community is what goes on in live chats. Like who's still stuck in narcissism mode? Who is who's still covering up, for representing one thing when in fact another thing is there. It's a good it's a really good study. It's getting better. It really is. And the fact when you have somebody doing a live stream and saying, where are the trolls? That's an improvement. Now, when we have a little less drama, and there is less drama, but even less drama would be good. Yeah, the drama. Yeah, we don't want to talk about Max Spears here. Besides, he wasn't Gnosticking. He was doing other stuff. Yeah, it's getting a lot better, Lee. Um, and I think that there is certain people who do join a chat and don't get involved, and I think that having some you know certain mixes I think help contribute to things. Actually, and the funniest thing is almost invariably, I mean, what I now do with a live chat is I just put an owl, and if Lee's there within a minute, he'll go, "Hey, Mod Wiz," and so when I go to a live chat and Lee isn't there, it's almost odd. I mean, we do have very similar interests. A lot of us. That's why we see each other in all these different live streams. That's Family Man in the background. Hopefully my mic is not picking it up. Let me see. I can always look on my thing here. Oh yeah, it is registering. Oh well. That's what I live with. Nice people though. And I spend a lot of time on the internet. They spend a lot of time on TV. The one thing that's interesting, when I did watch TV, I always muted commercials. Always. There was no muting of commercials here. You keep your eye out for the owl. And the owl, ever since I kind of memorized a few things, and also how it's actually once when you hit the @ sign, and provided there isn't anybody else who has a name similar to yours within 3 letters, like in words for Jessica, I can put @ and then put YES, and it presents me with her name, and I can just hit the enter button and I'm done. Same thing with Lee. Same thing with anybody. I mean, discovering that has been really a good way to help open the communication and let people see. And as a person who doesn't like to type, it enables me to type hit @ 3 letters most of the time. Sometimes a fourth is required, and I'm good to go. And especially with those long, some of those like let's say CW joined us with his other channel. I'm the one who works here now. So if he were on here and I wanted to go to him, I would just say @ and say I'm, and chances are to be nobody else with the rest of the stuff, and I will have to type again, an I, an apostrophe, an M, and I'd have the whole thing. Hit @ and there we go. Yeah, I haven't watched TV since 2010. That's one of the things I had to avoid when I go to the Den of Lore. I've gone after TV a few times, and he goes on and protecting the the value of TV, and so we have different opinions, which we're each entitled to, and so when I'm on the Den of Lore things, I tend to not rag on TV too much because I don't want to rattle the host on his enrichment program. Yeah, I mean, I try not to support any of the corporations that that I don't absolutely need. Um, yeah, cable TV. Hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean, Sandy. I mean, it's. I mean, and then a lot of time, people get up early here. Like when I'm going to bed, sometimes the TV. I've had the TV come on at 5 o'clock in the morning after it was shut off at 2:30 because somebody fell asleep on the couch at midnight. Yeah, well, I'm glad the blue chickens are dying out. I think I made a comment last night that I buy blue chickens to feed the stray cats. It is a, it is an assault. It really is. It is an assault. It's an assault to intelligence. It's an assault on our common sense. All right, that was a satisfying cigarette. I still am able in many ways to, when I smoke a cigarette, it's about smoking a cigarette. It's not just like a mindless thing. It's like I'm doing this to my lungs for a reason. And then at some point, I might be able to stop doing it because I won't need I won't need the medicine, and that's what it is. It is medicine. The blue chick, basically, the blue chickens flew the coop. I have some on the forum that I visit regularly. I've stopped posting there because, when you post, people reply, and I realized that people's replies to what I was saying was annoying me. So rather than get into it with them, I just stopped posting. But I still read, and I guess the bullshit. I mean, the story is that the blue chickens are not happy with the way things going, so they were leaving. They were going on, and apparently, and if I recall in that same report, not to worry that the Argarthans are there to fill the void that the blue chickens had left. So it's all good. Instead of blue chickens, we'll be talking about inner earth people. And there's no question that there's all kinds of beings in our inner earth. Um, if I could get accepted into their society, there are certain I would join some of them. But I can understand that concern about wanting to keep us out. I mean, if any of them read what goes on in the average alternative live stream, they would go, "Oh, by all means, let's keep them out. They're fucking all over the place." Hello, Metal Lady Benz. Oh, was that? What did I? What, was that a false press release? The blue chickens are still in. What did they? Were they? Did they find their compassion to consider to assist humanity? So I had somebody contact me. Um, it was from one of my GMOP people, one of my the people that I'm in there with, and she had tried to call me, and then she had tried to call me again. And then I tried to call her, and I reach her and it's like when people are persistent, it's because there's something on their mind. So I'm like, oh, what's up? Let me mute my mic for a second while I clear my throat. Where is my mic? There it is. All right. So she finally, I got a hold of her, and I was like, what's up? She says, I have to thank you so much for introducing me to John Lash. She said, I was listening to the video that really lays out the Sophianic narrative. She said, not only did everything about it feel so good and so real and so true, she said, I was crying through parts of it, tears of joy. So that was a great call to get. Because, you know, I mean, I'm doing a weekly live stream called Can't You Hear Me Gnostic, and to have somebody move to tears of joy and almost a sense of liberation from being exposed to the Sophianic narrative really fed my heart. And I am in communication with JLL. I have to get some things to him. So, you know, topics of discussion for us. So we're in process, but it won't. I mean, I'm quite sure I'll be able to post it here, but as far as I know, it's going to be a Radio Gaianim show. So that's really cool for me. But most importantly, is I'm hoping to. Maybe bring out some things, because I'm out here too, trying to let people know about Mama, and so I know some of the things that maybe we could go over or discuss from different angles, you know, and that just might make it interesting. Yeah. It's been yummy for me, and so I really look forward to it, and I think it'll come out well. Hello, Kaylin. I'm sorry. Hello, Callan. So yeah, I think I'm feeling a little perkier, and I need perky. Coffee wakes me up, but sometimes it just, you know, it's like. And the other thing, I was almost out of tobacco, and the tobacco store is now closed. So that was the other thing why I really wanted to get a tobacco, because the tobaccos keep me a little on the sane side as I change my neurochemistry. Well, thank you. I managed to. I didn't really have enough shampoo to do it, so I added a little bit of the hand soap that I use, which is it's like one of those, you know, 7th generation type dish detergents, but it's not that, so you pay a lot less for it. And the interesting thing, I mean, I've been making my own products for a long time, and those no perfumes, no dyes, just whatever brands are so mild. They're really gentle soaps. So I put a little bit in with the little tiny bit of camellia shampoo I had left, add a little water, and managed to get the hair degreased. So thank you, Sandy. It is kind of perky. I'm just glad I have it. You know, I'm just glad I have it. It did thin, and when I was younger, it was a lot thicker. There was a period where it went from, like, occasionally being asked if I was wearing a wig to what it is now. And during my younger, cockier, and also my drinking days, I was almost like a professional asshole in many ways. Drinking will make you a professional asshole. A terrible profession. And I used to, you know, let's say, have things to say about those unfortunate enough to not have the keep your hair gene, Well, during that period when it was very clear that my hair was thinning. Matter of fact, I actually went from long hair to wearing. You know how George Clooney wears his hair? I wore that kind of style for a while. And but again, I was drunk, so didn't matter. And then when I got sober, I'm looking at myself. I go, "Who's that?" But anyway, I got in touch. I got in touch with the trauma for a man of losing his hair, and I remember saying, if there was such an arrangement, if somebody says, you know what, you can keep your hair, but you'll have to give up one testicle and live with just one, I would have said, deal, deal. For a head of hair, one testicle's enough for me. Fortunately, it was just apparently an age adjustment, a little less hair, but I still have the full head. So, but it was a very good lesson. It gave me empathy where there had been none before. But once again, alcohol is not really very good for empathy. Sympathy maybe, but not empathy, and certainly not compassion. Yeah, I know. I mean, basically, and especially, I was already in my 40s. I'd already had my son. Um, I mean, and would have made crossing my legs a little easier. But fortunately, we didn't have to go there. I could have been a half a St. Augustine. And one of the things I have noticed, I mean, a lot of people are doing, they shave their heads, and it's a look, it's a manly look. Um, but I mean, I have noticed that I've never seen anybody with a full head of hair opt for that look. So, my guess is, that look is hey man, instead of this silly little ring, you just get it and shine away. Yeah. Well, sometimes I'm so nuts. Maybe I would just grow one back. Anyway, that's silly talk. Oh, apparently April, I think, is testicular C word month. Yeah, I mean, people. Yeah, you're right. Sandy, it would be nice if people were comfortable enough with themselves, and also kind of where their let's call them, let's say, fashion decisions were made because they were moved. It was like they were experimenting. Oh, let me try this fashion. Let me try this fashion, as opposed to if you don't follow a certain fashion, you're not with it. But that's how Unfortunately, that's a lot of it, and especially when you have certain fashions that apparently are completely came out of the porn industry. Oh yeah, how delightful. I'm just going to smoke this one. So I'm going to go roughly. I'm saying probably an hour of just kind of sitting in here gathering, but I don't want to talk to the point where people start going away. Because when I play my song, it would be fun for to have a little bit of a crowd. Well, I'm on minds.com, and where there's quite a bit of naked material gets posted. And they have the option, to, hide adult material. Now, I'm hardly, I mean, I certainly like erotica, but I've almost thought about enabling it only because what I consider erotica and what other people consider erotica is sometimes it's actually jolting. I'm not sure, a lot of taste there, but I've actually thought of, you know what, there are certain people, but I don't know, it's just odd times. And if I could talk and write, what's right, I already figured that out. I have to turn a page. Oh, I forgot to put on the tempura. I like that. I really do like that when it's on. Right. I realize I don't have my normal long cover on, so I have to. And I'm only wearing my leggings, and I don't want to get any unnecessary fan mail. Good. I did a good job there. Because I'm under the delay, so I got to see. And the interesting, that tempura might actually, I think I have it, you can pick the key that it's in, and as far as I know, it's in the key of C, and the song I'm going to do is in the key of C. And the beautiful thing is this tempura has a pitch adjustment, so I might have to adjust it down because its normal pitch is set at 440, but it has an ability for me to drop it to 432, which is I tune to 432. Done that since. It's funny, I kind of stopped watching TV and started playing in the 432 tuning in 2010. Yeah, 432 hertz, A, that middle A above C. And that all the bands I play in also have adopted that tuning. And the other thing is, like somebody said, it's woo. I won't, it is, I play in it. The people who I play with have also felt and experienced the difference. And also as a singer, it's a little bit easier to sing. But if for those who think it's woo, it's fine. And besides, it's not like we announce, when we play, we just play. And it's got a good, I like the effect. Whenever we've played out, and there's another band that plays out who also uses that tuning, and it really, I noticed the difference. And it's a tiny difference for anybody who I might have gone through this before, but like on a guitar, between one fret and another on a piano, two notes next to each other, the difference in tuning is 1/3 of that interval. It's a very small interval. But that's kind, that's all. It's really tied into the sacred science stuff, and I think it isn't for me. I see a lot. There's almost like a debate on it, and to me, it's either you use it or you don't. There's nothing to debate. What do you like? Some people call it Verdi's A, because Verdi played in that tuning. Actually, most of the world played in that tuning, although apparently there were some variations. It's all about the 9. It's all about the 9. Number 9. I've worked with the solfeggio frequencies. I'm not a fan. I had another musician who also did the same experiment I did, and he came up with the same conclusion. He goes, "How is this a thing?" But the man who put that out there, Mr. Horowitz, he's the one who kind of did the solfeggio things. He's convinced, and he's convinced a lot of other people, but I won't. I mean, like I listen to a lot of music tapes, and that's when I'm listening, and I only will listen to 432. I won't go near the solfeggio frequencies. One of the clues is apparently the Gregorian monks were part of how that was discovered, and when one considers the source. But again, do what you need to do. What you want to do. They do act on physiology. The other thing was I had already conducted my experiment and went like, oh man, this is disharmonic in a major way. And then Masuro Emoto, the one who does pictures of crystals, they showed different, pictures. Some of them are really beautiful crystals. All of the solfeggio frequencies were distorted crystals, and sometimes instead of having 6, they had 7 heads. The solfeggio crystals were not elegant. So, I mean, my own experiment with them told me leave this alone, and then when I saw the effect of these frequencies on crystal formation, I went like, I don't want my protoplasm being exposed to that. Equal temperament can get a little tricky. Obviously, there's something to it. What they did with the modern standing tuning was equal temperament made it a bitch to tune, especially in an orchestra. So they made up the increments that kind of kept close enough. Equal temperament is actually ideal, but there was a certain compromise that had to be made. So that's my thoughts on equal temperament. Joseph Farrell, who happens to be a musician also, has spoken a bit on it, and he did a very good job with it. Yeah, it's interesting. Darcy puts Discord, and that's one of the reasons I've never joined a Discord. I don't like the word. It's like, why would this is a communication, and we're going to put Discord as like what we call it? Three who's to you. But if you get a chance to to look at the crystals, I wish I don't know if I even saved the link, but I remember sharing it with people on GMOP, because there were some words like amen. Amen didn't form a very pretty crystal either. I found looking at the crystals and the shapes they took based on what was given to them to be a real journey. Yeah, I don't, but no, I don't do the binaurals. I mean, my brain is actually fairly well balanced. I I can even I can even feel. I mean, you can really if when you're in your meditations and in your when you're trying to parse things out, you really see how the left side of your brain kind of almost puts points. And then it's like, how do we connect them? And it's like the right brain kind of comes in and sees this thing and shows you, well, you could put them together this way, you could put them together this way, and then you go, oh, that's it. So I'm very, and you can get into your right brain by taking something that you want to know more about and starting off completely logically, very logically lay out the parameters in your in your mental eye, and just start doing it. And before you know it, your right brain joins in, because you're kind of there. You're almost putting yourself in a trance as you're kind of setting out your logic points. Okay, I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this, and then you hear, well, what about this? Oh, and then you could now you're in tandem. Now you got both sides of the V8 working, or V6, whatever it is, V12. And when we consider how much water makes up, cells, what are cells? It's like this cellophane wrapping with a lot of goo inside, which requires water. We are so watery. So the frequencies that we expose ourselves to on purpose, like music, not like the ones that we're exposed to. But I felt it was I felt that musicians could really help the world by going back to a tuning that's in sync with the geometry of the cosmos. Everything is so squishy. Hello, Connie. Thank you. So now that Metal Lady Benz has invoked Squishy, will Reemseed be joining us? Oh yeah, can I put an octopus in here? Let's see. Oh, this is probably going to switch over my thing. Let me check. Yep. I had a feeling that it would temporarily shut off my camera because I chose the letter C for my transition keyboard command, and so when I typed in octopus, I hit C. So my camera, like that. Yeah, I'm shampooed. I even, cleaned up the space between my goatee and my sideburns. I actually got ready for this performance as much as I could. That's the other thing. I'm really trying, part of getting my nervous system back in is if I think these are important times, then a little more preparation and making it a meaningful place to be, rather than just turning on a camera and starting to talk, whatever's on my mind, to try and come with something. So like I said, tonight we're getting close. We're almost at the hour point. To me, playing my song, the Go to Your Room, and maybe I'll even talk about it a little bit. So what I'm doing with this song, and of course, like I said, the parenthesis name is the Goob Song. Now, for the longest time, I have called what people call governments gooberments. I spell it that way. I don't use the word government. It's a gooberment. And but goober has a certain kind of rustic quality. And the people that I'm calling goobs could hardly be called goobers. You know, these are the ones that we often call the elite, the Illuminati, or, you know, all those other honorifics. Yeah, I'd like to honor them. But, and so I honored them with this, I'm going to call it like, it's in what I would think of the tradition of what the bards did, which is to take power from those with it by mocking them. But when you mock, you must mock with some accuracy and truth. Because if you just, you know, if you just kind of go off on a tear, it doesn't have the same impact as kind of building your case around what is really happening. And because they know what's happening. So I had to try and get as close to their bone as possible. And so that's what this song will be about. I think it's a hoot. Like I said, I wrote 3 verses, and with a bridge. I could have written. I mean, even as I was driving back from the store, I still have verses entering my head, but I went there. Oh, I forget what I was saying. I was probably pretty done. But so this song is fun, and it's got a nice kind of catchy melody. It's done in kind of a style that isn't rock. It's kind of like almost like it's a little folky. It's a little hokey. And you'll hear. So step 1, I'll turn on the amp because the tubes have to warm up. I'll pull out my tuner and make sure that this thing here is in tune. The drone, let's see, got to put it on mic. There we go. What do we got here? Yep, got to drop it a little bit. Not good to do it without glasses. There we It is now at 4:32. I'm sorry for being away from the camera for as long as I was. If I had taken my glasses the first time. Anyway. So what I'll do is I'll read the words first. Verse 1. This song is for the goobers who run gooberments and act like royalty. Your strut hints at a limp, and I think you've had a glimpse of your destiny. We have seen your work for thousands of years. Earth doesn't like you, and it's pretty clear. You need to leave the stage now. We've had quite enough. So go to your room. Verse 2. You've been on quite a tear now. You've been on quite a tear now, and you've had your chance and failed miserably. Now this is from a human who knows that you are not and what you believe. Though not everyone yet sees through your ruse, when they find out, they'll be thinking noose. So do yourself a favor before it's too late and go to your room. And then I have a bridge. Now look at the goobs in power. I think they're running scared. Too many people have come to be aware. The gig is up. Your bloodlines suck. And they've gone to hell, so why don't you go there as well? And then the last verse is, now I'm not a sadist and don't want revenge, but you have to leave. Now some won't see it that way, and they'll want you to pay a dire penalty. You may think gibbets and gallows are our fantasy. Stay in the game, stick around, and you'll see. Your history is over. We break your pen. Now go to your room. In many ways, the breaking of the pen is, if any of you are familiar with the Lord of the Rings movie, not the books. Gandalf breaks Saruman's staff. Your staff is broken. So since basically, you know, this is a world of paper and statutes, your pen is broken. We break your pen. Now it's not goober, it's goobs. Goober won't work for them. Goober is too deep. It's not an appropriate mockery because they're not goobers. Actually, unfortunately, if there's going to be any goobers in the mix, it's going to be amongst us. There's no goobers amongst them, but plenty of goobs. Well, that's what I'm saying in that verse, Max, is that, you know, I don't want revenge, but just because I don't want revenge doesn't mean other people don't want revenge. And I'm not going to say, hey, you guys who want revenge, it's just like the way I see it is that's their, quote, karma consequences. Consequences is the real word. You pissed a bunch of people off. Some people just want you to go away. Some people want to see you dancing on the end of a rope until you stop dancing. That's just how it is in this world. And if you don't go to your room, somebody might get a hold of you. Yeah, I have to. The mockery has to be good. Goober again. If we're the goobers. If we, and that's the other thing. We have to, when you point a finger at somebody else, you have to have a real clear picture of who you are. So this way here, it's not like they're laughing at you going, why don't you go look in a fucking mirror before you start calling people names? So that's the whole thing. There's a certain understanding of who and what we are and where we need to go. So I'm trying to keep it as clear as possible about where they're fucking up, and not go over the top in mockery, because if it goes over the top, it doesn't mock properly. It has to really be hovering right there above the truth. I think that everybody gets that, right? You know, like, mockery has to be real. It can't just be fantasy. It can't be just, I want to call you names. Because there's a certain infections. No infection can thrive in an environment that's hostile to it. So clearly, they've had a relatively gentle environment to survive in. Alrighty, so I think I'm gonna. Yeah, my amp is on. Turn this down just a tad. We'll put a little reverb on. Love this guitar. Make sure this guitar is in tune. I stayed up until 8 o'clock in the morning to finish this song. I wanted it because I wanted to have it for tonight, and it wasn't finished, so I didn't stop until it was finished. I think I'll play with a pick. Okay, I'm going to wear my glasses, which is hardly the thing I'd like to do for a performance. But this is a preview. Let me make sure that my sound isn't too loud on my guitar, because I don't want to get things distorted here. Oh, that'll work fine. Okay. Now my throat, my voice is a little tired, but I'm moistening a little bit. I think I'm going to play without a pick. I think it sounds a little better. Okay. This song is for the goobers who run gooberments and act like royalty. Your strut hits at a limp, and I think you've had a glimpse of your destiny. We have seen your work for thousands of years. Earth doesn't like you, and it's pretty clear. On the stage now, we've had quite enough. And go to your room. You've been on quite a tear now. You've had your chance and failed miserably. Now this is from a human who knows that you're not, and what you believe. Though not everyone sees through your ruse, when they find out, they'll be thinking noose. So do yourself a favor before it's too late, and go to your room. Now look at the goobs and I think they're running scared. Too many people have come to be aware. The gig is up, your mind. The gig is up, your bloodlines suck. They've gone to hell. So why don't you go there as well? Turn the page. Now I am not a sadist and don't want revenge, but you have to leave. Some don't see it way, and they'll want you to pay a dire penalty. Though you may think gallows are a fantasy, stay in the game, stick around and see. Your history is over, we break your pen. Now go to your room. Something like that. So that's a preview. Obviously, it's the first time I'm really doing it since 8 o'clock this morning when I finished it. Let me go into the chat and see if it was okay. Okay. Anyway, that's it. Thank you. And I'm going to try and do this more regularly because it kind of puts me on our schedule. It's like, okay, let's finish a song, and then once it's finished, then I can start getting on my my recording software and actually make it a song with, you know, drums and bass and even some harmonies. Thank you, everybody. I know I screwed it up, but I wasn't going to make a big deal of it. But thank you for your feedback and for being there. I love that guitar. That guitar is such a delight to play. Their room is wherever they disappear into. That's the other thing. Some people are going, well, what do you mean? Is it this or that? It's just like, just go the fuck away. I don't care where you go. Just go away. I don't care if you take your servants. I don't care if you take your money. Just go away. Disappear. Thank you. And also, that's a Weber speaker. You heard it coming through. Oh, I never did put in my octopus. Yeah, just like go away. I don't need details. I don't care if you're happy or miserable. I don't care. Just go to your room. Go away. And working on these songs, this has been like kind of, I'm trying to find ways that make me do what I so want to see done. And putting myself on the line, kind of creating, okay, well, now we got that. Now can you finish up another song? Because last night I was just writing. I didn't even write down all the songs that I have, but I came up with 16 songs just off the top of my head, and I was leaving songs that I wrote a long time ago that I might not continue to include in my repertoire. I mean, I've been writing since I'm 17. That's, you know, I'm 65. But, and most of the songs that I have on this list are the songs that came to me when I changed to tuning it to 432. One of the first thing when I, tuned down to it, I was just strumming, and I realized, wow, just strumming this feels good. It wasn't even about, it sounds, it felt good. And I found within changing the tuning, I think I'd written like 5 songs like in a week or 2. It was just, I would start strumming my guitar, and suddenly, like, now that I was in sync with the natural world, all of a sudden all these melodies started flowing through my head. It was amazing. So I have found that since I switched tuning, writing is just so much easier, because it just seems like the muses want in. They're going, oh, you're going to be doing that? Well, let us sing for you so you can play it. Yeah, go away, mad. I'm quite sure they'll be mad. So that, I don't know, was it mocking enough without being over the top? I mean, again, anybody who finds out anything about them, well, doesn't want nice things to happen to them. The banjo player I play with now, Butch Robbins, he's in the, I forget what Hall of Fame he's in. It's one in Indiana. Blue Blossom or Bean Blossom. He's in the Bean Blossom Hall of Fame. It's a bluegrass. Yes, Callan, my muse is terpsichore or Budevi, depending on which system, but it's the same muse. She's the main muse, and she'll have 2 support muses, ultimately, because there's 2 other muses that have to do with kind of like word material. Budevi is largely just the music, and there are other ones who are kind of like lyric poetry and those type of muses. Terpsichore is music, or Budevi. The reason I know Budevi is from John Lash. He went through the muses. He was telling her, I was already doing this on my own, and then recently on one of the radio Gaianim, this is that he had said, you should pick a muse, and he went through them, what they do, what their Greek names were, and what their, I guess, Tibetan Buddhist names are. And excuse me, because they tie in with the Dakinis, of which the Dakinis are 18 and the muses are 9. And so terpsichore or Budevi is music, but then I think it's either clear. The name and my understanding of the muse is the muse I've chosen. I'm getting acquainted with who I think would be like kind of like support muses for her, like kind of like building 2 legs on her. So Budevi or terpsichore is the muse of music. You just said it as I said it, terpsichore. Well, you can, I think her name ends in an E, so it's whether or not you kind of like say a Latinized E sound, which is A, or you say E is E. Here's what it is. I don't know about, I think you can do whatever you want, but generally what happens is you want focus. The whole purpose of one muse is so that you're not all over the place. We need to stop the new age all over the place shit. We need, like to make a decision, stick with it, see it through. If it doesn't work, we can change our minds. But pursuing multiple avenues of once is a good way to get lost. And So, but my whole thing again is a main muse, and then two muses that would seem to support, and one of them is the writing of poetry. And there was another one. I am focusing on one for now, and I'm looking to see whether support systems are there. And then, since Bhudevi has clearly showed up for me, I also want to see, after I kind of make that decision, and then I go inside and journey on that decision, what do they think about that decision? The whole thing about all of this, if you're doing it right, you're building a relationship, and it's a relationship based on back and forth conversations. I want you to know, Madfinger, that interplay between muse and moose. I was thinking about, what would I call, if I had a band of my own, what would I call it? And I was thinking about calling it bull muse. Because the bull moose is an important animal, and great, real powerful totem. And it seems to be seems to be a totem that we Telestai might find good inspiration from. So I just thought a band called Bull Muse might be interesting. Darcy, if muse is plural, what's the singular? Or is it the same? It was interesting. One of the things I got to the live stream, the Leak Project live stream, 8 minutes after they started, and I think about 15 minutes in, somebody said, "Now don't forget to hit that like button," and I want to say, "I just got here. I don't know if I'm going to like it," so, which is one of the reasons why I don't. Usually, if I do mention the like button, it's after I've been on for a while, so you can, whether or not I've earned it. It's just not like, I don't want you to like it if you think, I don't need a mercy fuck. I give them, I don't get them. Or I gave them. Okay. Thank you, Darcy. Tailored right, I think that's the way to go. I really believe that you should have, like, in other words, your primary muse should really be kind of like what you might be doing the most in life. Like, I really want to get where I'm playing out and making lots of music, get very musically involved. So that muse made the most sense for me, but there's one or two, maybe even three muses that kind of are for the written word, taking thoughts and putting them on paper. And one of them is for epic poetry. There's a few forms of kind of like written word muses. And so I want to kind of like look at them carefully and kind of pick those and see if it makes sense. And again, tailored right. If you already have your main muse, I'm assuming that you are aware of its presence. In the case of Bhudevi, I'm aware of her presence, not so much by talking to me, but as when I get started. Like, I could be sitting there with my piece of paper going, come on, Bhudevi, inspire me. And then she'll speak and she goes, get the pen writing. Like, how about, you're capable of this, get it started, and I'll join you. But until you get it started, I'm waiting. Or I'm waiting. I don't have to talk like such a Bronx person. So to me, just getting involved, picking a main muse, and if you have other muses that you think really support, and it's it's glad to see somebody else is also doing that, but you want to do this with care. We're doing this to increase our abilities. And it is about communication. I mean, you get the okay from these beings. This is not about, commandeering spirits. This is about making friends. May I ask which muse you picked for epigenetics? I'd be interested, just so I could kind of learn something. And if you feel uncomfortable putting it in there, that's quite all right. One of the things I very much honor, especially in magical traditions, is sometimes certain things are not for public discussion. And by public, I mean out public. If we convene like a little shaman-y type group, then a campfire, a sacred space, then sharing is very good. But just we should the sense of the sacred is something that we can really greatly cultivate, and it's just that when we go into those places, making it a little special, a little different than going down to the corner and hanging out. As an Aspie, sometimes I actually occasionally get that way, and which makes the formality of sometimes interacting is something I've had to learn a little bit about. But just like that, get practical, be magical. The correction that Mother is taking us in, the world we would like to be in will be a magical world. So we need a foot in each one of those worlds. One very grounded, really grounded on Mama, and the other one in her dreaming. So that way we're in both of these worlds. And the kind of the magic that I speak about, to me, is what I would call earth magic. You light when you pick incense for where you want to talk to. I mean, sometimes I just pick the incense I want, and then I'll and just say, hey, whoever likes this incense, come join me. Hello, Christopher Sylvia. Well, being drawn to JL material to me means that Mama's talking to you, Sophia is speaking with you, and so you got, if you got like a little bit of an excitement or like, oh, this feels really good. I had a friend of mine. You were not here earlier, unless you were and just hadn't spoken yet. I had a friend of mine make really like almost frantic attempts, and when I finally got a hold of her, she says, I just want to thank you so much for exposing me to John Lash. I sat down and listened to the Sophianic narrative, and she goes, it cleared away so many doubts, it made so many things clearer. I was crying with joy for certain parts of it. So that was very rewarding. But discussing it in person gets a little tricky because, I won't talk to people till I've cultivated a little bit of a relationship with them. Know them. But so there's always a possibility. There's a good chance, in the coming weeks, to maybe do another campfire. I had a campfire once. There was a few people there. It was very pleasant. A campfire is like a sacred space, kind of a recreation of being under the night sky around a campfire, and as we share our dreams and visions, so that we get so that we can, because we're all given pieces of understanding and the map, and it's almost like, and I consider it brilliant because that's what keeps us social, and that's what keeps us talking about what's important, our dreams and our visions. But it has to be done. And to me, the most important thing is, if you have dreams and visions, then you share. If you don't, you listen. There's no what ifing. Shamanic sharing is not like, well, what if this and what if this? We don't go there. That's sophistry. It could go on forever. It's just silly. I guess anybody who can hear my mic knows I have incoming, but it's not for me. It's for everybody, or whoever's there. Anyway, where's my live dashboard? There we go. Well, Madfinger, I appreciate us sharing, because it is we. I'm just trying to facilitate a place where we can be together. As an elder, I think, I at least can carry my own, so that helps. I have the gift of gab. So it would be possible, Christopher Sylvia, if you're still here, but it takes some planning, and being as the whole purpose is to go deeper into the material that John Lash has recovered and presented to us. That sounds like a good get together to me. Good question, Lady Benz. I don't want to answer it publicly. I mean, it goes on forever because you need a map. This is all people in magical traditions had maps. Because you need a map so you don't get lost. Without a map, you get lost. And so it's to me, it's kind of like you're in a car, you want to get somewhere, and you ask somebody directions, and they go, we'll go this way, and then when they give you directions, you go, but what if I do this? And then the other passenger goes, but yeah, and what if we made a left instead of a right? I mean, in many ways, the questions that I often hear in kind of magical conversations are the equivalent of somebody asking for directions, getting the directions, and then going, but what if this? Cognitive dissonance. And a lot of it is tied into our wanting to have input. And if we all wait for that moment where, we feel strong about something, it's just like, and usually what I try to do isn't so much what ifing, is to bring the fruits of meditations and journeyings. And then we go, hey, I was doing this and I got this. Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever traveled here? And then all of a sudden you go, well, I did this. And then the pieces start coming together. And it's not a lot of what ifing. No, maps, a map like you use a map. Except in this case, instead of a geological map, it's it's the map of the world. Yeah, some maps can be misleading, but a lot of times, again, it's in this whole new thing of open source spirituality. Just follow your own path. Yeah, go follow your own path, and fall down rabbit holes. The ancient people got to some place coherent because they got together and mapped it out together. Yeah, coordinates. I mean, there's a certain coordination. I mean, that's how people sometimes, I'm not getting the words for it, so I'll just stop for a second. I mean, the fact that a map that's misleading is very simply a bad map. Okay, Shodashi. Oh, that sounds like it might be the Tibetan name instead of the Greek. I'm going to look at my participants, see who's here. Okay, Christopher Sylvia is still here, I think. Very good. Well, I don't know if the spelling is right either, but we're talking about Shodashi, so it's certainly phonetic enough. Let me tell you one of the reasons why the Q stuff is creating so much discord. Because a lot of people are barely capable of making their own lunch, and they're joining in these conversations. But they're not aware of their limitations, and they want to fly, and meanwhile they're dodos. And so that creates discord. Oh, thank you, Raksha. And Madfinger, like you said, shamans, geniuses who thought about for generations, and they build maps, and that's exactly that's why there was so much being destroyed when Jehovah showed up, because Jehovah showed up with his own map. And it was like, this is the map. All other maps are bogus. And so the fuckery began. But and the word shaman is certainly something we've discussed in other conversations. And there are different, kind of classifications of shaman, but I do believe, just like I have a shamanic practice, I do not call myself a shaman, because I don't administer, per se. And a shaman is a community servant, and using their shamanistic journeys for other people. I use my shamanistic journeys to inform myself, and then I will join with other people who are doing the journeying, and then we start doing some mapping. No. I don't consider you a dodo either. And even a dodo, I mean, again, all a dodo meant was a bird that can't fly. That's all dodo means. I don't, maybe I should have said penguin. Penguins can't fly either. I'm never trying to insult anybody. We all have our strengths. Some of us have our strengths in our ability to craft with our hands. Some of us have our strengths in our ability to think abstractly. And they fit like a glove. They are like two halves of our brain. There is no one is superior to the other. But similarly, if you go to, let's say somebody's, you're a really smart person, and you happen to wander over to somebody fixing a car, and you think you're so smart that you can suddenly say, hey, well, why don't you try this? And he looks up and you go, because that wouldn't fucking work. That's why I don't try it. You know what I mean? It's like, you got to know your place. And if you don't, go into situations where you're kind of uninformed, you won't piss off the people that are informed on that particular subject. And it's really about us, the whole thing, know thyself. Once you know yourself, you start interact. Everybody interacts beautifully when they know who they are. If you don't know who you are, you tend to bump off a lot. It's a lot of bumping around that way. If somebody, I don't know, somebody says, what part of the country? Hello, John, and hello. Looks like a Foxadre. I don't know if it's Foxy Dre or Foxadre. And somebody asked a question, what part of the country you reside? I don't know if that's directed at me. I live in Appalachia. I'm east of the Appalachians in the state of Virginia. Hello, Mari. Yes, I'm in Appalachia. Beautiful, beautiful place. It's actually a place that was mentioned in Casey's readings, and he spoke about the energy in this particular part, and I have to agree. It's almost like, and in certain cases, it's like being musicians. If you're a hard rock player, you probably shouldn't, bring your Marshall to a bluegrass thing and go, hey, can I jam with you guys? If you're going to do your normal thing. Obviously, if you love heavy metal, but you also are capable in other things. I mean, I came from a rock background, and I'm playing with a bluegrass banjo player, and he's happy that I don't play straight bluegrass. That I know what the music is, I honor it, but I bring my own dance to it. And one of the songs I'm working on is one that I play only bass with. I thought that might be an interesting thing to do, is actually sing a song and only use the bass for accompaniment. That'll be one that I would work on before I did it. But this am I having fun making music, and I'm having fun bringing the music out. I think we could use more music. And I'm just trying to make a music that a lot of different people can enjoy. That could be played on songs that can be played on an acoustic guitar. And this little amp behind me is a fun amp. It's not overly powerful. It's 15 watts. It has a regular channel with the tubes, and it also has all I could go back there and turn that amp into a Marshall. As far as the sound, it has a Marshall setting. They call it 70s and 80s British sound. They have 2 Vox settings also. And it's pretty interesting. Matter of fact, I'll even do a little demonstration. Let's see. I'll use my pick. So that's that kind of like a nice clean sound. And I have a song called Marijuana that I do with a kind of a dirty sound, and it kind of goes like a. Something like that. So I'm going to put on the Marshall sound. Turn it down a little. But then we get a sound like this. Listen. It can get dirtier, but you know. Turn that down, turn that up, and then we'll get like a slightly dirtier sound. See, there's that sustain. So it's a very fun amp. But bass is my main instrument. There we go. Are you actually a tailor? That's amazing. Talk about a craft. I mean, I've made some. I have a couple of tunics I made. But I don't know where my sewing box is. I used to have a really nice sewing box, and I have a few things I want to sew, and I don't know what happened. I might have left it in New York when I moved here. I have a sewing machine, but I haven't set it up. And I always, you know, I don't use my sewing machine for a while, and then I have to remind myself how you thread a bobbin. Hello, Spec. Hello, Niche. But I do. I like sewing because I like creating things. You know, I'm an artist, and making clothes, how awesome is that? And the tunic that I made for myself, the one that I still have, I gave one away, and I've worn it a couple of times. The tunic I made it in 1988. All right, 1988. That's 30 years ago. It still holds up. Where I have, you know, commercial shirts that I'll buy, and you know, a couple, you know, and they just fall apart. Yeah, I have rhythm. That's one of my strong points. That's one of the reasons that I'm playing with somebody as good as Butch Robbins. Is the first thing he goes, man, you got a sense of rhythm. Yes, well, Niche, I did mention, I actually told people that if they have a spare minute, they should go listen to your last video. Because I found it very bone mothery. I liked it a lot. Actually, I loved it. That's what I put in your comment. And I have since gotten an email that you loved my comment. Bye, Metal Lady. Christopher, one of the great things for me, when I locked into Sophia and understood the narrative, there were still questions, but they were questions that would expand, that would grow my map. It's almost like you kind of start out with a map of the neighborhood. And now you want to get out of the neighborhood. You want to get into the greater world. And it's through those meditations and journeyings with her. And also, as you're kind of reading things, listening to things, you get hits. She'll drop a package in that just expands things. And so the questioning, in other words, the questioning is more about how to, like, I'm here and I want to get there. So the questioning, even the questions you ask yourself have a direction. It's not just question, like it's not just curiosity. Part of connecting with Sophia, because the name really means, it's not a name. It's what it is. It's wisdom. Wisdom does not pursue knowledge for the sake of knowledge. Wisdom pursues knowledge to add to its wisdom. And there were certain things where you go and you go, this is interesting, but, you know, maybe when I've gotten what I'm really looking for done, I can entertain myself with this. I don't know what the word meaningless refers to. If I use it, I don't recall using it. And if I did, I would need it in context. Hello, Vernon. I'm glad you could join us. Vern is somebody I hope when we do have a campfire will be with us. I've actually had quite a few conversations with Vern. Actually, we have our own campfires when we can. And we're due for one. Okay, thank you. What a delightful group of people that are here. I mean, I'm loving who's here and how you're interacting with yourselves and each other. Can I just say I'm admiring all you? May I say that? Fox Dre, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know if you know who Doc Illusion is. He's another Gnostic person. And he and I one time were on a Zoom conversation. It was at least 4 hours. I think it was 4 hours. It might have been a little bit longer. And I had shared with him some of the extra material I got from my own journeying on the Sophianic narrative. And he went, wow, man, I like that. I mean, that really expands it. And I said, I'm going to tell you something, no. Even though I think this is a great expansion, I would never want it necessarily added to the narrative, because it was that narrative that gave me the connection and the skills to go get more. And sometimes, in certain cases, and this would probably be a good case, less is more. Once you're grounded, once you're with her, once she'll start being with you on your journeys, that's when you get extra. You get, oh my God, what you get. Because I mean, sometimes with the narrative there might be little questions. Well, what about this? So what about that? I don't want to put any ideas in anybody's head, so I'm just saying, what about this? What about that? And then all of a sudden, like a thought might come in, sometimes a voice. I mean, it's just amazing when you take these things that you're just like, oh, this is beautiful, but I just feel there's something more. The next thing you know, the more is coming in, and it all connects, and it just grows. But I really believe that what John has recovered and the way he put it down was guided by Mama. And so I think I think that the form, its current form, is what gets you started, what gets you in country. And that's one of the things when I engage with John Lash in a few weeks. I want to find out if we want to go there, if we don't, because I think there's certain conversations that are very good for people who are already in the narrative, in the dream, and expanding on that. for people who are still not sure that the narrative works for them, anything extra would just like, well, then it'll start, the what ifing begins. I mean, we all have our what ifs, but the what ifs I get answered, it's not even what ifs. It's like, this is occurring to me. It's not what if this. It's just like, there seems to be like a little more with this part of the story. Yeah, as somebody had to do it. And there's no question for me that he has really applied himself in a very sacred way, and he's quite a beautiful man. He's very special. I really appreciate and love John Lash, and the fact, to be able to speak to him one-on-one in a week or so, let's say so, is something I really, really look forward to and look forward for people to hear. Yeah, isn't this a great chat, Robin? This is, I mean, now they're archiving the chats. Now I do have the ability to, not archive the chat. This is a chat I think we should all be really happy about. I mean, you read this back and you're going, wow, look at this chat. So I'll probably go on a few more minutes. I'm trying to hold these to about 2 hours. I know when I listen to Danny and the Unfuckers, if when they're having a good conversation, their 2-hour shows are really are very much appreciated. They're doing. I don't know if anybody follows. I guess it's Removing the Shackles. They're really doing some decent unpacking within where they work, and I love it. I love when people get together and it really is kind of a campfire experience, because what they're Danny will usually start off and the things that have happened to her, experiences, visions, things she found, new things she discovered, and then other people share them and then they start piecing them together. It's just beautiful. I love it. I mean, there were certain shows that go deeper than others. Same thing with this stream. But I think we're all getting better at what we do. I think more and more people realize, gee, this isn't a hobby. We're actually creating a new culture. We're creating new things, and if we take ourselves seriously. When I mean serious, I don't mean serious. I just mean, seriously, with a smile on your face, serious. That we will see greater fruit. It's almost like, the difference between, you could just throw things in your garden, things will come up. But if you take it a little more seriously, you'll get a better harvest. I do follow Lisa also. The whole Lilu thing seemed to do something to her. Robert Stanley's like a case in point, and she's not quite at Robert Stanley. Like, I love Robert Stanley. I think he's a good guy. I've mentioned him many times, but something happened to that man. I got quiet because somebody wrote something that I wanted to give my full attention to understand it, but they're speaking to another person, so. Reverence, that's a great word. That is, to me, the word. If I had to pick one word of how I feel towards Mother, it would be I revere her. And the funniest thing is, I like to use, I would, in my kind of prayer, especially when I'm lighting incense, Blessed Mother. And one time she said, what's with this, yeah, she seemed like she didn't like the word blessed so much. It wasn't a word. It was just kind of like I said it, and it kind of went like, it kind of didn't ring nice. And so it is amazing the amount of chatter that you can get. And this is a nice way to kind of close up. I am finding that, like, a lot of people go, clairvoyant. Clairvoyance is certainly good, but we can, the way things appear, like in other words, the way we see things, sometimes is a matter of perspective. Where with clairaudience, of course, you still have to interpret, but I find that, well, first of all, with clairaudience, you don't need to see anything, and it's something that I find when I'm thinking or I'm doing things where you get these little downloads, whispers, they come in different forms. Some are stronger than others. Some come almost like a smell, but it's something that comes as an idea. So to me, that's that kind of clairaudience, hearing that things that are not physical, and clairsentience, which is kind of thinking. Clairsentience is a little bit tricky, but it's tied in with the perception of those things. And it seems that when it comes to perceiving things with our eyes, because that's apparently that's part of the quantum observer thing, that veil is a little trickier. But as far as clairaudience, that veil is almost like a gauze curtain. You can't see past it, but boy, you can talk through it pretty darn easy. And so I would highly encourage people to listen, because there's so many things going through our head, and they start having different they have different qualities, different tones to them. Like parsing out when I'm getting, the main communicator is Mother, but Hecate, who I've been bugging, occasionally steps in, and she has a very different feel. And then the muse doesn't really speak so much as give me what I'm looking for, except when I'm stuck. And like I said, when I was there, I'm going, I could need a little help. And I go, yeah, I could need a little help too. Why don't you get it started? And so I can't encourage people enough to do these simple, sweet magics. You don't need wands. Incense is nice, but you don't need that either. As a matter of fact, a lot of times, getting all formal can be hit or miss. Being informal is also hit or miss, but it kind of, it's like, in that case, it's a freebie. When you get a hit, it's like, oh, wow, look at this, a freebie. And then those quote unquote freebies start becoming just like part of how you're moving. And we live within a dream. Reality is a dream, but then again, we have to work with dream definitions, and so sometimes that can be a tricky word. But the dreaming into reality seems to be the process that we're in. So when you wake up and realizing you're moving in a dream, which is what the real world is, the physical world, just walking across a room can be a magical experience when you realize I'm walking through a dream, and that even the very air is her. It's her stuff. And that's like, a couple of, maybe even a month ago, I was talking about moving my hands, and you start with just moving them enough so you can feel the air. Okay, so you kind of feel that movement in between your fingers. Okay, you're doing this, and you can feel it. You feel that little bit of air, and then you slow down where it really can't be air anymore, but you realize you're moving through her ether, and then you can start feeling the ether. You can actually feel like just the slightest bit of resistance. You can feel her. You can feel her stuff, and you realize that you're in, this medium. And that alone can be an amazing experience. Is just play like that, and then slow it down, and then even if you move your palms, so you can feel that she's there. You can feel her ether, and that you do that enough, and next thing you know, you better sit down. It's not. I did it one time. I really got into it. I was standing up. Not a good idea. Not a bad place to start. But if you're really going to go for it, it's probably best not to have to rely on your balance, because you will swoon. Swooning is a very common experience with Mama. Going into prayer at night when I'm preparing myself for bed, my favorite thing is to just enfold myself and just we just swoon at the love, the understanding, the acceptance, the belongingness. What was nice was I had a meeting with somebody today, and she said, "Can we start this with a prayer?" Now, usually I am in a group with 20, 30 people, and I've led prayers before, and I'm always kind of careful with my wording because I don't want to go all Gnostic. We got some people who are Bible people, and I don't want to offend them. It's just not, especially, this is my group. I pull them together. We're going to pull them together and then, dog them on their beliefs. My whole thing is what's in your heart. How do you, what are you doing in the common sphere? And if you're conducting yourself with love and some compassion, I really don't care the other maps. Yeah, the slower you move, the more you feel. And that's because you want to get rid of that air movement. That air movement is, when you move a little faster, that's the air. It's when you slow down. And then you can just kind of almost feel it like oozing through your fingers. What was I saying? I don't know. I mean, she designed us, so we're kind of designed to interact with her on multiple levels. And it all starts with when you come to the gnosis, the experience of her reality. You don't believe in her. You experience her, and then you know her. You do not believe in her. Yeah, they are having a. I think they're having a hard time letting go of Jesus, because there's some really sweet wisdom. There's some really good stuff attached to it, but then there's the narrative that got built up around that, and that's what they're kind of reacting to a narrative. And then you have what I call the Gnostics, are the ones who. They don't have a Sophianic narrative. They know of Sophia because Sophia is part of the cocktail of the various Nag Hammadi texts. but she's one of many characters. It's it's a Judeo-Christian Gnostic mix, and a very Jesus. The Nagamani are very Jesus-y, and so that's the other thing is you have what I call the Gnostics who are big Jesus people, and as opposed where the Christos, the one who provides the chrism, the one who provides the lubrication, the soother. He's a real Aeon. I mean, he's a serious Aeon. He's a great Aeon. I work with Christos quite a bit, and occasionally I slip up and call him Jesus, and he's like, I was like, is that okay? I know you. I know who you want. And in the Sophianic narrative, it was Christos who was an enormous help to Sophia when she was, dealing with like an explosion of life that was getting crazed because she still was settling into her own groove, so to speak, and he provided an enormous comfort to her during that period, and he hung around, and now we can work with him too, and he's a comforter, he's a smoother, pretty good for just kind of like asking for some insulation from the world so that you can just be with her. And and that's why I like to say Christos, because I think we do ourselves a big favor talking about an Aeon and not about a man. Now, from my own journeys, in most cases, the Aeons come in syzygies, they come in pairs. To the best I can pick up is he's a bachelor. He's a bachelor Aeon. So there is again, he's a special Aeon, but he's not what that is. He's a very sweet spirit, very, very helpful. He's an enormous asset in just keeping some calm with Mama. But he came to help her. So it's Madfinger, I mean, these some new people tonight for me. Madfinger is a relatively new one. Foxy Dre, I guess the Taylor, and then Christopher Sylvia, relatively new names for me. You people have just been awesome. You really have. Well, Foxy Dre, the way I understand, Christos is kind of a corruption, or or a variation of Christos, and Christos is the Aeon, and it's kind of the anointer. And if he was anointed to go anoint. And I like the word that John used. He called it chrism. That would be CHRISM, and it's kind of an etheric lubricant. Kind of WD-40 of an etheric WD-40 of sorts. Well, wanting worship is where, that's where you, as soon as they want worship, it's, go the other way. The beings we work with, they don't worship. It's like, please. They want worship because, well, first of all, they're insecure. And that's why they bugged in anyway. They're empty, full of fuckery, and want to be paid attention to. I think any number of people say, evil is an interesting conversation. For me, evil ultimately is when the things that happen that we do to each other, that any group of people go, ooh, that's evil. Like kind of like walking to somebody's house and just shooting them up. That's evil. And Reemsey's here. Look at that. Reemsey shows up and then Robin says something about it. So, but when it comes to, like, let's say the Archons and the Demiurge, are they evil? No, they don't. They are what they are. They're jealous. They're envious. And you know something? I can wrap my head around their jealousy and envy. Matter of fact, one of the things I shared with Doc was that their formation might not have been as much of an accident as it looks like, but that's a campfire discussion. That's not a public discussion. Yeah, well, right. Evil is ignorance is where evil finds fertile soil for itself. And ignorance is not knowing. You're using Castaneda all tonal. And just in case anybody else doesn't, I mean, some of you might recognize it. Madfinger used a word from the Castaneda language. They have the Nagual and the tonal. The Nagual is like kind of, the magical. The tonal is the world. Hello, Reemsey. How are you? Well, Reemsey came in and the numbers dropped. I guess you're not popular, Reemsey. A squid, an octopus, and an owl. So, anyway, we're at 2:17, and again, I want to have something that when people who can't come in alive, that they don't look at it and go, oh my God, another marathon. 2 hours to me is not a marathon. To me, 2 hours is a solid show. So, I really want to thank all of you, not just for coming and joining the chat, but for being who you are, who you were tonight, and who you will be. The kind of respect for each other, respect for ideas, the interplay, just really beautiful, really beautiful. I'm coming away out of this stream with a little bit of a buzz, and the buzz is from interacting with all of you people. Really been great. I got to tell you how refreshing it is. Can I just call you Foxy for short? If you don't, you can all say don't call me that and put it in the chat, and I won't do it. But that's of both Sophia and Thelate. Thelate is somebody to investigate. Actually, that's a subject I would love to speak with on John, but I want to feel him out because I have some stuff that I just feel that it would be good for him and I if we could clear it out. Because I don't want to. The last thing I would want to do is create even a bump of any kind of confusion. And the intellect, for me, that's one of the things, one of the reasons to understand the chakras, and I've done it a few times, to know that the intellect now we're talking about, is in the third chakra. But it isn't until you kind of have your intellect and your emotions in an actual good, clean dialogue where you don't get all bogged down and triggered and stuff, that you can rise into your heart where you have wisdom. And wisdom will be, the fruit of everything. And of course, intellect is part of wisdom. But to me, it's informed intellect. It's compassionate intellect. Oh, Nish, you missed my song, didn't you? Yeah, isn't it, Raksha? I mean, this is the beauty. I mean, to me, like I feel like I can hold my own and be a little bit of an MC for this, but man, it's like you guys were in the band. Just really great. I am quite moved and tickled and just short of wood. Oh, you did hear it. Oh, you did miss it. Okay. Well, if you ever can get on busy, I might give you a private screening. Niche is a very, very busy woman, putting out a poem a day, which you can see on Steemit or minds.com. And okay, I think we have done it. And I don't have a Google Hangout, so we can have an after show. I don't know if anybody wants to offer an after show, but I have a feeling we won't be able to do it. And maybe we're just done anyway. But I'm going to kind of close this up so that I have a 2 hour and 20-minute video to offer to the people who will watch it later. Thank you for all. Now, if you've liked the show, please give a thumbs up. Thank you for those of you who have been here, those who have subscribed. I think you all know about hitting the bell and stuff like that, so when I go live, you'll know it. Occasionally, I just go live. Occasionally, sometimes I do one other live one besides my scheduled show, but I never know. Sometimes I just, time to, who's around? Let's go. So anyway, so much love for you all. And that's right, I have to it takes me a few seconds to stop the streaming.